Thank you. Can you, those who can all hear me, can you? Right, well, as you've no doubt gathered, in this election, UKIP is very much the new kid on the block, so I think really it behoves me to introduce myself before I start talking about my party. It freaks some people out that I have a name like Magnus Nielsen when I'm a British citizen and I don't speak a word of Danish. To explain that, as I'm sure most of you know, that on the 4th of August 1914, a war broke out between Britain and Germany. And as a result, a lot of the young men living in the countryside went off to the trenches. Denmark wasn't actually directly involved in the First World War, but my grandfather responded to an advertisement which was calling for labour on the English farms, on account of the fact that this country could have been starved into submission if it didn't have a proper workforce. So, very simply, my grandfather came to England and started work on the farm. And we all thought at that time that the Great War was just going to last for about 3 months or so. And it dragged on for 4 years, and millions of people were killed, and my grandfather was here for rather longer than he thought. But nevertheless, he eventually married his boss's daughter, or at least one of his younger daughters, and the rest is sort of family history. On my mother's side, my grandfather and my grandmother were very much involved in the formation of the Labour Party 100 years ago in the north of England, in County Durham. And my aunt was actually the secretary of the northern branch of the Labour Party for the whole of the north of England. So I have that idea of actually, it's in my blood, as it were, to belong to the formation of new parties, and that's really why I'm in UKIP. But what really interests me about UKIP is that I see the problems with the lack of democracy in the European Union. I originally voted to go into, to stay in what was then the common market in 1975. I'm that old. And then having voted, I started to realise as I went on that, in fact, all the promises that were then made were just being steadily betrayed. And we've now got to the state of the point where we are now tied up to an organisation which is so corrupt that the accounts haven't been signed off by the auditors for 19 years. So that is really why I want to pull Britain out of the European Union. I do think actually that what we do need in Europe is something like a Commonwealth of European nations, but that is something to take place once we've got out and when the European Union has collapsed, because the disenchantment with Europe is rife across the continent, especially in the southern states of Europe. So my work, I'm a tour guide, I'm a professional blue badge guide. I take people around the country, I take people around London on panoramic tours. And when I'm not doing that, I'm a private tutor. I tutor children and I teach them English and things like grammar and spelling and punctuation. It looks as if I've run out of time, I'm sorry.